Greetings, everyone. Welcome back. Here we go, year number 2. I'm still Kevin Workman, and I am excited to be getting started. So let's fire off this introduction video. I am from Spokane, Washington in the Pacific Northwest. I currently am a secondary social studies teacher. I've worked in high schools and middle schools in the United States and in Qatar and now in Saudi Arabia. I live and work here alongside my wife, who is a learning support teacher at the same middle school, and my 3 daughters. I have a 9th grader, a 7th grader, and a 4th grader. Honestly, at the beginning, it felt a lot like this program chose me. I've been on, like the rest of us, a professional journey, a personal journey, and it seemed like on the day that I discovered that this program existed, it was the right time in my life, and it was the right mission statement, and I was ready to embrace that. I was ready to take on the challenge of moving my own teaching in the direction of social justice at a higher level, and honestly, ready to move my own development as a human being and my own voice as a father and a husband in the direction of social justice and taking a more vocal stance and learning to articulate how I see myself in the world and what I want the world to be for my children and for my students. So my encounters and my education with regard to this idea of the other is really a fascinating it's a fascinating part of my life right now. And it does require a little bit of an economics lecture that I'll skip for now. But there's a broad context here about the relationship between a host country national and the expatriate labor force that's really required to add some context for what I'm about to say. So, but in the interest of time, I'll get right to it. There are moments here where I am the other, and I am intentionally made to feel like the other. There are moments here where the local population almost relishes the opportunity to remind a white Western expat that they are a guest. Those moments are very, very rare because in an expat economy, I almost never interact with Saudis. All of my interactions are with other white collar expats like myself and the people that I work with and the students that I teach. I have more contact with Pakistani and Indian drivers, Bangladeshi or Sri Lankan gardeners and carpenters, Filipina service sector employees in shopping malls and grocery stores. Those interactions vastly outweigh my interactions with local Saudis, probably on a 95 to 5% ratio. So in those rare moments where I'm in a government ministry building or I am in some exchange with authority, I will recognize moments where there's a certain sweetness or a certain satisfaction that a Saudi might find in reminding the American, specifically the American, that you are a guest here, and we'll help you when we feel like it. You can go to the back of the line, or you can come back tomorrow, or that person that you're asking for, they're not here today, and we don't know when they'll be back. And those moments are so stark. Admittedly, just in terms of my own positionality and being raised as a white guy in white America, when those moments happen to me, they are very, very noticeable. They're instantly frustrating, but they're also so educational. Um, and one of the things that you have to remind yourself of is that those rare moments when I am made to feel like the other, they're largely deserved, because the other vast majority of the time, the globalization wave and the modernization wave that I represent has largely been a very heavy-handed kind of homogenizing effect on the region. The technological wave, the economic wave, and the cultural wave that people like me have brought into this part of the world has very much been an economic boom for the local population, but also in a really palpable way, it has been a threat to native language, native culture, native food, just everything across the board. And so I chose Saudi Arabia. I was curious to see how the research reconciles with the perceptions that I've come upon, that I've developed just by living in this expatriate bubble. So I chose Saudi Arabia. I was curious to see how the research lines up with my perceptions here as an expat. And so what I identified as a great accomplishment is the beginning of this initiative that the King has titled the 2030 Vision, recognizing that peak oil is the greatest threat to economies in this region that are so dependent on oil. They've set up this initiative to transform their economy from an oil-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. And what that translates into is this massive investment into education. In fact, in 2005, they created a scholarship which was the largest government investment in education in any country in human history. And so that quintupled the number of Saudi students that were seeking university degrees abroad, and most of those went to the United States and have traditionally gone to U.S. universities, which introduces the challenge, which is particularly Trump's administration and his unfriendly stance toward international students. So there is a great concern about the horizon for Saudi students to be able to seek American education at American universities because of the Trump policies. But there's also something that is more homegrown, and that is the investment in the 2030 vision has dropped, particularly in education, as a result of the global crash in oil prices, which is a little ironic considering that it is Saudi Arabia that is leading that. By jacking up oil production, they're driving prices down, and they're doing that to attack their oil exporting rivals. But their local population is paying a price for that. And so there's a divestment from the educational side of the 2030 vision.